Hello and welcome to Prudent IAS, one-stop solution for all the competitive exams. We are back with another interesting video. Today our topic will be from General Studies Paper 1 Geography section. The approach for this video will be the same like our previous videos. We'll choose one topic, do some discussion over the topic, give you some insights, and then we'll phrase a model question as well as a model answer, where I'll be telling you the insights about the structure, the do's and don'ts of answer writing. Most of you must be aware which question we are going to tackle today because we already share our questions a day prior in our group Answer Writing by Prudent IAS on Telegram. If you have not joined it yet, do join it. So without wasting time, let's start with the topic for the day. Today's topic is very common these days, the talk of the town, I must say. Earthquake, right? What is an earthquake? What are the causes? What are the types of earthquake? How do we measure earthquakes and etc. Today we'll be looking about all these aspects of earthquake. So you all must be aware that our earth consists of lithosphere, and that lithosphere is made up of rocks. Now all these rocks are present in certain equilibrium, which is known as the gravitational equilibrium, to maintain balance. But this balance, this equilibrium gets disturbed. And whenever it gets disturbed, we feel oscillation or vibration called as earthquake. Now, why do we feel these disturbances? Because the earth is in constant motion. So what is an earthquake? An earthquake is a sudden shaking of the earth which is caused by energy release in the earth's lithosphere. This energy builds up over time due to tectonic forces. So whenever the equilibrium is disturbed between the rocks, there is certain energy which is present, that is also known as strain energy. That strain energy is released. Whenever this energy is released, it causes earthquake. So when the energy is released, it produces certain waves which are also called as seismic waves. They propagate through the earth, causing ground movement. Shaking intensity varies based on energy release, depth, distance from the origin. So in seismic waves, we'll also be looking about the types of seismic waves, body waves, surface waves, etc. So let's get familiar with certain keywords which we'll be using in the lecture, upcoming lecture. Focus. What is a focus? Suppose this is a diagram relating to earthquake. These are the waves which are getting radiated. Or in a simpler way, if I present it to you, this is the earth. From here, the energy has started releasing in all the directions, right? So this center, that is the origination point inside the earth where energy is released, is known as, this is called as focus, also called as hypocenter. Now, based on how deep the focus is, earthquakes can be categorized into three types. That is, if it is shallow, that is the distance is 0 to 70 kilometers, it's shallow. If it is more than 70 but less than 300, then it is an intermediate one. And if it is a deep earthquake, then it is 300 to 700 kilometer. Next up is epicenter. What is an epicenter? From this focus, what will be the nearest distance on the surface of the earth? So this is the surface of the earth. The nearest distance will be right above, right? This point. This point here is known as the epicenter. This is the epicenter of the earthquake. The point directly above the focus on the earth's surface, typically experiencing the strongest shaking and used as the reference for earthquake locations. We usually refer to this epicenter. Often in news you must be seeing the epicenter was in Nepal, etc. So these were the two key terms, focus and epicenter. Focus inside the earth, epicenter on the surface. Now tectonic plates move at rates of centimeter per year. All the plates, you know, the earth's crust is made up of multiple plates, some major plates and minor plates. These plates are in motion. Whenever any two plates meet, there is some stress, strain energy which is released, again causing earthquakes. When plates get stuck at boundaries, strain accumulates. When stress exceeds, the rock strength rupture occurs along fault lines, releasing the energy as seismic waves. Whenever a rupture occurs, a fault occurs, this energy is released, which causes the earthquakes. Don't worry, we'll be looking at each of these terms in detail in the upcoming slides. So let's first know about the causes of earthquakes. We have divided it into 4 points. The first one being tectonic movements, which is the most common. Also, what does the word earthquake means? Quake means breaking, right? So whenever there is the breaking of the earth, or in simpler words, the breaking of the plates, the tectonic plates, whenever there is some rupture, some fault, some stress around the plates, then due to tectonic movements, the earthquake is caused along the faults due to plate tectonics. Now, what happens? I have already told you in a previous lecture, whenever two plates, let it be ocean continent or continent continent plate, right? So what happens? Either one plate subducts beneath the other, subduction, or divergence might occur, which creates a fault. Transform faulting is also present. Transform faulting was whenever two plates either move in similar direction or in opposite direction. So these plates touch each other, right? This is the touching of the plate, which causes friction. Because of the friction, there is some energy which is released further, causing earthquakes known as the tectonic earthquakes, caused due to tectonic movements. Next up we have is volcanic activity. Now, what happens in a volcano? In volcano, usually magma erupts from this. This is the eruption of magma from beneath the surface. But before eruption, the magma keeps pushing these rocks, right? Over here, it keeps pressing the rocks. Rocks get weaker. Then the magma erupts. So, associated with the magma movement, usually of lesser magnitude. Compared to the tectonic movement, the volcanic activity cause lesser magnitude earthquakes, because the magma will erupt and it will be refined to this area only. Then comes the anthropogenic activities, was the most common one and the most damaging one as well. Anthropogenic, that is human caused. Mining, dam induced seismicity. Now what happens whenever there is a mining happening? So when we mine, then the rocks get weak and they ultimately cause earthquakes. Dam induced seismicity. For example, this is a dam. Across, the water is filled over here. This is fresh water, this is saline water, right? Now, because this water is stagnant for a long period of time here, the water seeps into the rocks. Ultimately, the rocks get weaker, and weak rocks will ultimately cause earthquakes because they'll release energy, right? So what are the examples of the anthropogenic activities? Koyana Dam, Maharashtra, fracking, underground testing, of course nuclear bomb blasting, testing, all these are causes for the earthquake. Next up is isostatic and elastic rebound theory. Stress builds up and is suddenly released when rocks snap back after being deformed. Whenever a rock is deformed, whenever there is some disturbance in the equilibrium, the earth usually balances itself, which is the isostatic movement, right? So whenever this occurs, earthquakes are caused. Now, let's look at types of earthquakes. First up is tectonic. Of course, it is caused because of the plate movement, the tectonic activities. Volcanic, caused due to the volcanic eruptions because of the magma eruption. Collapse, this will occur because of anthropogenic activities. Whenever we mine, often the roof collapses, the cave collapses. Then explosion or induced nuclear testing, etc. Reservoir induced, that is RIS. reservoir induced seismicity. So from water pressure in the dam reservoirs, again the pressure is built due to because of stagnant water, seepage in the rocks occur, and ultimately earthquakes will occur. Now, whenever an earthquake occurs, there are certain waves which are produced that are called as seismic waves. So what are these seismic waves? Let's look into these in detail. The earthquake waves or the seismic waves are of two types. The first up is body waves and the second is surface waves. The body waves is of two types again. P waves known as the primary waves and the S waves known as the secondary waves. Why the P waves are called as the primary waves? Because they are the first one to hit the surface, or we feel these waves. They are the first to hit. Also, they are the fastest, that is, they have the highest velocity. The P waves can travel through solid, liquid and gaseous because they depend on the density, and they can travel through all these three mediums. Now the P waves travel like a sound wave. What is the movement? The compressional one, like in this way, right? So they travel as per the sound waves, which is the longitudinal waves. They can pass through solid, liquid, gaseous. In solid, the speed is the most, that is around 7 to 9 km per hour, 5 to 7 in liquids, and less than 5 in gaseous. Coming to the S waves, they are slower as compared to the primary waves. They can travel through only solids because they work on density. They are because of density as well as rigidity, which is present only in the solids. So how S waves travel? See, P waves usually travel as per sound and S waves travel according to, as per, like similar to, not as per, similar to light in this, which is called as transverse. So this trough and crust movement, the transverse, this is the movement of the S waves, also known as the secondary waves. They are also called as shear waves. Next up we have surface waves. Surface waves are L waves and R waves. L waves is love. Now why love waves? Because, no overthinking, love waves because they were discovered by A.E.H. Love. So we have named it L waves, love waves, and R waves are Rayleigh waves. These surface waves, of course, as the name suggests, they are on the surface, but P and S waves were in the interior. They cause maximum damage on the surface. These waves cause maximum damage. The L waves, velocity of the L waves is more than Rayleigh waves. That's enough for the basic understanding. Next up, how we measure the earthquake. So there is a device called as seismogram. See, I'll draw it for you. Just a minute. Just a rough sketch, right? So this is a spring, kind of a spring. A ball is here. Here there is a rotating drum. Okay. Just for your understanding, I've drawn this. This is a spring. This is a ball, and this is a rotating drum. This drum is rotating. Okay. So what happens? This moves because of earthquakes, and it produces certain graph, that is seismogram. So the graph is known as seismogram, and this device seismo. So it produces some. This is like. So this is how we measure the earthquakes using this device. Now, what are the scales? This was for checking the waves, that S waves, P waves, whatever they are forming, but the scale used is either Richter scale or the modified Mercury scale. In India, we use the modified mercury, that is scale. So there are two aspects. Whenever there is an earthquake, there are usually two aspects which are present. One is magnitude and the other is intensity. So the Richter scale usually measures the magnitude and the modified mercury scale will measure the intensity, that is the impact. The news which we often hear about the intensity, that's because of the scale. The magnitude scale, that is the Richter scale, is a logarithmic scale, which means that the number, it's numbered from 1 to 10. But since it is a logarithmic scale, if we'll come from 1 to 2, then this will be 10 times of 1, right? It's a logarithmic scale. Whereas the modified mercury scale, usually from 1 to 12, this is also a logarithmic based. The modified mercury scale measures the intensity. So this tells that where the severity of earthquake is more, what we feel. For example, the intensity will be more near the epicenter, of course, because that's the center. So near the epicenter, the intensity, the scale will measure the intensity more. And as far as we'll go from epicenter, the farther we'll go, the intensity will get lessened. So there are two scales, Richter scale and modified mercury scales. Now what are the effects of earthquakes? Very common, very easy to write, but still, for just covering all sides of the topic, I've mentioned it here. Of course, first one is what we feel: ground shaking, the oscillation, surface rupture, liquefaction, landslides, most common in the hill areas, tsunami in the subduction zones, and infrastructure damage, human casualty. There's a never ending list because of the earthquake. So it is very important to have certain measures. But before that, we'll be looking at the global distribution. This is very important from your map work perspective as well, and while writing the answers also, you can use these maps to enrich your write-up. So global distribution, there are mainly three belts, that is the Circum-Pacific belt, the Alpide belt, and the Mid-Atlantic ridge. So the Circum-Pacific belt, this over here, this is also known as the Ring of Fire. Most earthquake prone area is the Ring of Fire, Circum-Pacific belt. Next up we have the Alpide belt, which is from Mediterranean through the Himalayas to Southeast Asia. And the last one is the divergent plate boundary, that is the Mid-Atlantic ridge. So these are, though wherever there are plates, wherever the two plates will come in contact, volcanic eruptions are there, earthquake will be present. But these are the most common areas. What is more important for us is knowing about earthquakes in India. India lies at the collision boundary of the Indian and the Eurasian plate. You all must be aware about the two plates, this Indian and the Eurasian plate, making it seismically very active zone. So how we measure the zones? We have we have 5 zones, but we have divided India into the 4 ones, which is zone 5, zone 4, and zone 3 and 2. Zone 1 doesn't exist in India. So in total there are 5 zones, but in India we have divided India into 4 zones. So the zone 5 areas are the highest risk, the northeast region especially, Jammu Kashmir, Himachal, Uttarakhand, Northeast, Andaman Nicobar. Zone 4 is high risk, Delhi and parts of Bihar, Gujarat. We look it into the map as well, by map. Moderate to low in the peninsular India, zone 3 and zone 2, zone 1 doesn't exist. So also you can quote some examples of the notable earthquakes whenever possible: the Latur earthquake, Sikkim 2011, Kashmir 2005, etc. Let's look at the map work. So zone 2, 3, 4 and 5, these are the 4 zones which you have already studied. If you look into this, this part, northeast, some parts of Himachal, some parts of Jammu Kashmir, some parts of Uttarakhand, Bihar, and even this Gujarat. Zone 5, that is the highest earthquake prone region. Let's say zone 4. Zone 4 is Delhi, Himachal, Ladakh, Jammu Kashmir, Bihar, Sikkim completely. Zone 3 is the moderate areas. Moderate areas में Gujarat, some parts of Rajasthan, Jharkhand, Kerala, Goa, Maharashtra has some zone 4 as well, and the rest peninsular India comes under zone 2. So this is the least active one. Of course, because of the Indian and the Eurasian plate, this is the boundary, so this is supposed to be the most earthquake prone area. Now, what needs to be done? The preparedness and the mitigation. This is a natural phenomena. We cannot escape it, but how we can mitigate it is very important. So there are certain structural measures and certain non-structural measures as well. The structural measures include the earthquake resistant buildings. If you know, you must be hearing about earthing hui hai ki nahi, the building is earthquake safe or not. So usually that is earthquake resistant buildings, which will mitigate the impact of the earthquake. Retrofitting old structures, of course, renovating and correcting them. Avoiding construction on the fault lines, very important one. Before constructing, we must always look about the area, the fault lines nearby. Non-structural measures are early warning systems like the SAS in the Uttarakhand, community awareness, the National Disaster Management Authority's guidelines, as well as school safety and awareness programs, which are very important for preparedness and mitigation. Now comes the most important section of our lecture, that is the model question. The question for the day is, discuss the causes and types of earthquakes, explain the distribution of earthquakes across the globe with a special reference to the Indian subcontinent. It is a 15-mark, 250-word question. So I phrased this question specifically because this contains a number of dimensions, right? If I'll point it out for you, the first one is the causes. Second is the types. This comes under the first part. In the second part, distribution of earthquakes across the globe, and then we'll refer to Indian subcontinent in more detail. So 4 headings which you are supposed to write. The word limit is 250. Now how you are going to put all the content in a precise and concise manner, keeping word limit in mind, is what I'm going to tell you right now. But before that, just pause this video, write a sample model answer. What you can do when I'll be discussing the answer in the upcoming slides, you can do some self-evaluation, as well as you can send us your answers in the Telegram group, Answer Writing by Prudent IAS, where we'll be doing some evaluation as well. So let's come to the model answer quickly. Model answer, of course, as I always say, always follow the intro, body, conclusion approach. Divide the word limit accordingly. Now, since this is a 15-mark question, and usually I tell in the 15-mark question, you can write 2 lines in introduction, but here we have a number of dimensions to address in the body, so we'll keep the introduction short and simple. Earthquakes are sudden ground tremors resulting from energy release in the Earth's lithosphere, causing significant damage to life, property and environment. We have just given some insights about the topic, kept it very brief. Next up comes the body of the answer. You are not supposed to write these intro, body and conclusion headings. These are just for your understanding. Structural headings are not required. What is required is these headings, that is the demand of the question. Always make sure that you write heading as per the question demand, make it self-explanatory and also highlight it, which I always emphasize. Ways of highlighting it is either use capital letters, underline it or draw a box over it, but highlight it. The causes of the earthquakes, keep it very brief, use subheadings for a neat presentation so that the examiner can also grasp that okay, you have addressed all the dimensions. Use the alphanumeric digits and under it write points in very concise manner. I'll read out some for you. For example, anthropogenic causes, mining, RIS. Okay, also one more thing. Here I have written reservoir induced seismicity, not RIS. Why? Because you need to avoid short forms. So reservoir induced seismicity, underground nuclear testing, volcanic activity triggered by volcanic eruptions, which is common in the Pacific Ring of Fire. You are mentioning all the key points here, but keeping it very concise. Next, types of earthquakes. Because we have already done discussion over these topics, so I'm just reading it out here and focusing more on the structural dimension. Again, the first heading is over. Similarly, you can write now types of earthquake. You can even use a flow chart. That's totally fine, but make it neat. Avoid congestion. What happens is, if this is the sheet, These are the margins. Students write first, second, third, and by the time they come to fourth, it is already congested, and the fourth one is almost in the congested area. Avoid congestion. Use flowcharts. You can definitely use flowcharts, other structures as well. You can use such a structure like, for example, types of earthquakes, right? Types of earthquake, and you can use circular flowchart as well. But again, what you need to make sure is it's neat, legible, and without any congestion. So tectonic, most common and powerful, occur at the fault lines, volcanic, collapse, and explosion. You can also, what you can do is you can make a table, write types and the causes, the parameters, and then this is also fine. So all the structures are welcomed. You need not to stick to only heading, subheading. I feel this is a very easy structure, very clear, concise, and it looks nice as well, neat. So types of earthquake, we have addressed the first part of the question. Next up, global distribution of the earthquakes. So because the question said you need to tell about the global distribution, but main focus on India. So we'll keep this part concise. Diagram, if the time allows you, then you can draw a diagram for map work for this. But while writing about earthquake distribution in India, you cannot skip map work. Map work is most important over here. It needs not to be very well refined artistic. Just draw a sample. This is also fine. I know it's not a good one, but still it solves the purpose, right? Add map work for India, especially if you have time, then you can draw world map as well. Not restricted, but this cannot be skipped. So in the global distribution, concentrated along the tectonic plate boundaries, Circum-Pacific, Alpide, Mid-Atlantic, etc. You have also mentioned some plates, Pacific, Nazca, Australian plates, which are prone due to active subduction. Then earthquake distribution in India, because it lies at the junction between, which is most important, Indian and the Eurasian plate. So there are 4 zones from 2nd to 5th. First zone is not written in our, we divide India in 4 zones from 2nd to 5th. Zone 5 is the most active. What you can do right here, drawing the map work won't suffice. Either draw a scale, you can use, because you will be using one single pen. So if you are making, for example, you are highlighting zone 5, then what you can do is for zone 5, just completely color it. This is also fine, right? For zone 4, what you can do is just mark it and draw bullets, right? In the peninsular region, where zone 2, very least active, you can draw such a, but always draw a scale. That what does this represent? If this is a square, then this represents zone 4. If it is dots, then it represents zone 3, whatever is there. So scale is very important, labeling is very important. Major seismic regions, and also only the diagram also won't suffice. You need to write some points as well, explain these points. So Himalayan belt, Indo-Gangetic plain, peninsular India, relatively stable but not immune. For example, you can even examples, map work, these are the points which will enrich your answer. Latur 1993 and the Bhuj one 2001. So all the dimensions are addressed. The word limit is also not breached. We have kept it within 250 words. The most important part, conclusion, I re-emphasize it again and again and again. Do not skip conclusion. Do not leave your answers abrupt, open-ended. Always write a summarizing conclusion so that the answer is summed up in a positive, balanced note. I'll read it out for you. Understanding the earthquakes, causes and distribution is essential for disaster preparedness. For tectonically active regions like India, integrating seismology with urban planning and infrastructure is crucial to reduce future earthquakes. So again, we have jumped back to the topic, summarized the whole answers, and we have mentioned the importance of the topic as well. So this was it, the sample model answer. That's it for today. I hope the topic is pretty much clear to you right now. You can even write your answers and send us in the group. Join our group, Telegram group, Answer Writing by Prudent IAS, and also subscribe our YouTube channel, Prudent IAS. Thanks for watching.